later on.
But first of all, we're delighted to welcome into the studio Anne Nolan. The Nolan sisters, well, it was amazing for them in the 70s and indeed in the 80s. They were a tight, happy family unit. That was until a reunion tour in the 90s saw Denise and Anne left out of the lineup, leading to a bust-up that tore them apart.
It was all very public at the time, I'm sure you remember, but sadly it took the death of their lovely sister Bernie from cancer just 2 months ago to bring the ladies back together, and that's really what Anne wanted to talk about today, because I think it's very brave of you, Anne, as well, because we know it was very public at the time how upset you were, and you did a newspaper article of being left out of the tour, and this is where this feud, as everybody called it, really started. But I think it's since Bernie, you said you've learnt a lot of lessons. That's what you really wanted to talk about.
Yes, I mean, at the time it was very hurtful and I was very upset, and I kind of went off on a tangent and did this article in one of the newspapers saying that my sisters had stabbed me in the back and everything, and probably at the time I meant it because, as I said, I was very hurt and very upset, but it kind of carried on and on and on, and when it gets that far, it's difficult to put a stop to it, really. You know, people say things written in magazines and papers and all of that. And then Bernie got sick, got cancer, and but before that happened, I'd actually written them a letter asking us to agree to disagree, really, because of for the sake of our extended families, our children and their children.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's the fallout as well within a large family.
Everybody.
It affects everybody.
Yeah, our friends and everything, you know, because it was difficult when we had family reunions. They didn't know who to invite and who not to.
How did you cope with those things? Because I know Bernie had her 50th birthday party, didn't she? Which must have been a bit awkward if a few of you weren't talking.
Yeah, well, I went to that actually, and it was fine, you know. We sat on separate tables, and afterwards I thought, this is absolutely ridiculous, really. You know, we're sisters. We've spent all our lives together, you know. Apart from being sisters, we worked together all the time, and so myself and my sister Denise wrote a letter saying let's just agree to disagree, and that was the start of the reconciliation, really. And then, of course, Bernie was diagnosed with cancer in 2009, I think. And
how did you hear about that? Who told you?
Linda phoned me and told me. I was at work because I've got a day job now as well. And
so you're not still in show business?
I am, yeah, I do. I'm kind of part-time. I work Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays in an office, and then I still do singing. Yeah.
But how was that for you, Anne? Because you'd tasted, you'd experienced, you'd been steeped in show business all your life, but yet you knew you were out there doing a real job. You were there working in an office, and this was the 30th anniversary comeback tour in 2009, so, and you weren't going to be part of it. So did you feel really that it must have been awful, really?
Well, as I said, it was very hurtful and very, I was very angry as well as hurt, and sometimes anger can take over your emotions and make you do things that later on you think, oh, I went over the top a little bit, you know. My sisters had their reasons for me not doing the tour. I didn't agree with the reasons. I didn't, for me, they weren't.
What were the reasons?
They said the record company didn't want me to do the tour, and when looking into the whole thing, I thought to me that was a bit ridiculous, you know. But that's something that's now, it's in the past, we resolved it all, and, you know, we learn from the past, hopefully, you know.
How are you all coping with Bernie's death? Because we're only talking about the start of July here.
It's really strange, because I was talking to one of your researchers and they were saying, so are you all together now, do you all talk? And I said, yes, we do. Linda and Maureen and myself and Denise see each other all the time. But I said, Colleen lives in Wilmslow, we see her periodically. I've been to her house for the first time in 4 years. I'd never even seen her house because of this stupid argument. And I then went on to say, and of course Bernie lives, I don't see Bernie that much because and I kind of went, oh, she lives in, you know, and I kind of had to stop and
think. Well, it must still be very raw.
It's really strange, horrible.
Was it the fact that you were all visiting Bernie that actually got you back together? Or was it a much more conscious thing than that?
I think because we'd spoken when Bernie first was diagnosed with cancer, we'd spoken, but we still weren't sort of together, if you like. And then when the cancer came back, that was when I think we all got together. We went to visit her at the hospice, and we were all together, and we just weren't thinking about anything except Bernie, really. We were just concentrating on her and how she felt, and so nothing more mattered to us then at that point, you know, and we were all hugging each other and
Were you all together at the end?
Yeah, we all went to Bernie's house where she died, and my brothers came, and I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional.
Of course.
And we were all there, and she was unconscious because she'd been given diamorphine, so she was unconscious. But we felt like she could hear us, so we played videos. We played Meet Me in St. Louis, which was one of her favourite films, and we watched Wimbledon with her, and we talked to her, and saying we're all here, and we're all, you know, we held her hand, and it was a lovely, I mean, it's not a lovely time, but
No.
to be with her at that time, and all of us together, was lovely.
You said she wasn't conscious then, but maybe she could hear you. But
Yeah.
when she was conscious, did she ever actually say to you, any of you, please stop this silly row, please get back together?
She did actually say to me when we were together, when she was quite bad, that she'd written a book, and that she put in the book that she thought that I should have been on the tour with him, and I said, I don't really want to talk about that anymore. It's past, it's over, it's done with, you know. And that was it. That was really all we spoke about it. That was the only time we haven't spoke about it since.
And it must
either.
have been, I presume, a very natural state for you all to be there supporting each other, because as you said, you'd performed and toured and been together for years. So was it very natural to just all be there and hugging each other and helping each other through that unspoken, really?
Absolutely. It was as if nothing had ever happened, you know, that little period in our lives had never happened, really. And
So then that brings me to, Anne, what are the lessons learned? Because you're no different than a lot of families. There'll be a lot of people watching you today, and they would say, that's my family, that's me and my sisters or brothers or parents or grandparents or whatever it happens to be. People stop talking for all sorts of reasons. They're important at the time. You were saying in 2009, that was, you know, you were angry, you were bitter. Of course you were. What are the lessons that you have learned because of what happened to Bernie?
well, first of all, that life, you just don't know. You just don't know what life's going to throw at you. You don't know how long you're going to live for, if you're going to be here, and it's too late afterwards to say, oh, I wish I'd done that, and I wish we'd said this. It's too late then. You need to do it when you can do it. If you've got something, you know, an argument with somebody, resolve it, because afterwards it's too late. You know, I would hate not to have made up with Bernie, and then for her to have died, and I would just regret that for the rest of my life, and never have made. And it wasn't. It's not. Nothing's big enough for that. You know. There's nothing that you can argue about that's big enough, really.
And the other sisters feel the same?
I hope so, yeah. I think so, yeah. I hope so, anyway. I can't speak for all of them, obviously. I'm speaking for myself. But for me, nothing... Well, it's made me realise that no matter what happens in my life from now on, nothing will ever be big enough to make me fall out with my sisters again. I hope.
That's a lovely
Well,
thought.
that's nice to hear.
Good luck to you. We, like you, we miss her. And she was always just so
fabulous.
bubbly and energetic and
so talented as well.
so talented. Yeah. Do you know, actually, I was going through Belfast, I think it was, 2 weeks ago, and they still had up a massive big poster with her in the middle of it. I think she was on tour with Chicago, wasn't it? Was it Chicago?
She did Chicago,
She did
yeah.
Chicago, yeah.
And she'd obviously, I mean, it was, you know, obviously a year ago, whatever, in Belfast, the poster was still there. And there she was, massive. So she's still there, people's minds.
She
Still
didn't
enough
actually get the recognition she deserved singing. I mean, I know people loved her, but she really was an amazing singer. And not just because she's my sister, because all my sisters sing, but she was an amazing singer and an amazing person as well.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you very much
Thank
indeed.
you, Anne.
If that's prodded you and made you think about relationships and that sort of thing, go to the website. There's some counselling help available there.
Still to come, we've got some fashion, we've got X Factor gossip.